while the rear wing is drying, I thought we'd have an attack on this here. Now I'm going to clean off as much rust as this with the wire brush and all round here, because the brake master cylinder was leaking out the back. You'll see it in a minute. This is a bit unsightly. We can tidy this up, but it gives us good access. So the thing is, what we're going to try and do, is like we all like to do, is kill about 2 or 3 birds with one stone. So we're going to clean up this area, rust proof this, change the master cylinder for the clutch, and you'll see why in a minute, and tidy up the brake booster. And we're also going to put on a brand new master cylinder. Why? Because they're 25 years old and it was leaking, as you can see. The clutch had been leaking. That's no good. So we're going to fix that. And also, like I say, the master cylinder was leaking. You'll see it in a minute. Let's go to the bench. I'm just going to go around and get my camera stand, but I thought to myself, how easy it is on a lift with the wheels off. You can just drop the car right down almost onto the axles, and it really is easy to get access to. What a lazy get, eh? And it's also easy to get to the bolts, because sometimes with the problem with the jack you can't get the door open. Well, you can. You can see you've only got limited space. Well, if it's way up in the air, it's tricky, but down on the ground, easy. Let's get the stand set up. Boy, it ain't half hot, mum. It's not like a pig today. No shop coat today because it's just too hot. Brake booster. Now, if you can remember in a previous video, I tested it for vacuum by pulling this in and out, and it was holding vacuum. It was really, really good. But you can see what the damage of brake fluid does. It just eats paint away. You can see all this. So all I'm going to do with this is I'm going to simply take the wire brush and plug the hole up here, and I'm going to clean it up a little bit. Just let me see if I can get that done now, and then I can put some paint on it, if you see what I mean, because I use a lot of that Tremclad paint, which is a good paint and a primer when I can see, when I can find some. Let me go and get this set up and clean this up, and I'll show you. So there you are. I've just taken the bung out. It's all nice shiny metal underneath. It's kind of nice. There's no holes in it or anything like that. So I'm just going to put this to aside for 1 minute, because I'm going to paint this and the clutch tower at the same time. So let me show you why I'm changing the clutch. But really, I mean, I'm just going to sort of degrease all this, clean off this. I think this has been out before, because this isn't factory sealer, if you see what I mean. So it doesn't really matter too much, but we'll clean it all up, make a job of it, eh? So here we are. We've done these before, and I was about to change the fluid in it when I noticed, when I took the top off, you can probably see here when I pour this out why I'm changing it. See? It's black, and that's rubber in there. I never really bother honing and replacing these cylinders, you know, refurbish them, should I say. It's a complete waste of time, but when I saw that, I thought, well, it has been leaking before. You know, that's really bad stuff, that. A good telltale sign of it's been leaking is you've got brake fluid down here. You can see how it's taken all the paint off. Yeah, and you can see also why I sort of drill these holes out a little bit bigger here, because look at the dust, look at the muck. Can you see it's all accumulated there? It's got nowhere for it to go. You know, all the dirt. Now I can sandblast that once it's once all the oil's off. I'll chuck it in the blaster and we'll clean it up and tidy it up. I'm not bothered about that, but I don't want to put the brake booster in the blaster. I don't want to get sand in it, you know, so that's what we're going to do. So we're going to strip this down. We've done it all before. I'm, you know, get a bit tired of doing them time and time again. But yeah, we're going to take the spring off. Well, how are we going to take the spring off? Well, I'll tell you what, let's start by the easy one. Take the cover off and get the bolts out of it. Right, with the cover off, we can see that there is a gasket on there. That's very rare. Somebody's been into this before because there's a bolt missing, and this isn't an original master cylinder. So what we're going to do now is just try and knock off that adapter. I wish we'd put that in the vise. In fact, I think I will. I'll just put it in the vise and knock that off. So now we're going to release the tension on the spring with a screwdriver. Hopefully we can get that spring out. There we go. Take the spring off. Is it going to come off? Yeah. I'll take the bushes out just in case we lose them. Yeah, this has had some serious leaking. So it's a good call to change it. And like I say, I know I'm putting a lot of time and effort into this car, but if I don't do it myself, whoever's going to buy this car will find themselves having some repairs, probably at the side of the road, and it's not very good for my reputation. So if I can do as many of these little jobs as possible, I mean, it costs me a bit of time. It's not the end of the world. Yeah. I wonder who that is. Sounds like a delivery just when that was Curtis. Stopped by to say hello. So now we're going to take off the bolts. No, we're not. We're going to take these bolts off. I forgot I haven't done these yet. Yeah, we're going to take these now. They've got 2 jam nuts in there and a lock nut, so obviously it's been off before. I was just hoping I can get in there with a key to get that off. I don't like a lock nut on there because it makes it really awkward, like a nylock nut, to get them off. It's moving though. Back in the tick. Well, with that nasty little nylock nut off, now we can take the cylinder off. Bolt on there, bolt, washer on the floor, and then from underneath we can get this one. No, I have known people try to do this on the car. I thought, what a mess about. No, it's so much easier just to take it out. Ooh. You will agree it was a good call to remove it. Look at that. It's been leaking, seals are shot. Well, I'll tell you what, just out of fun, let's take it apart. That's what we do here. This has got a sort of an impossible circlip to get out. Now we're going to get this out. It's got, you can probably see it at the bottom there, it's kind of small, it's kind of tricky. Let's see if we can get it out. I don't think so. Not with these. I'll get a pin. Well, that was a pig of a job to get that out. I had to use my small prick. This, not anything else. Right. Let's clean up the desk a bit, bench. Let's pull it out. Let's see what it's like. This is real time. Ooh. Look at the state of that. Seals all chewed up. The seals almost parallel, if you see what I mean. It's not sticky out, kind of nice. And look at this, perhaps you can't see really inside there, but it's not pretty. But usually when you see black brake, black fluid like that, it's usually a sign that the seals have kaputted. So what's next? Well, we're going to clean this up in the parts washer. Oh, I'm still on Zoom. So I'm going to clean this up in the parts washer. Oh, there's still that aluminium cover on there. Look. That's usually missing. Oh, I'll take that off when you're not looking. Oh, there we go. Oh, I think somebody's glued it on. Well, oh, never mind. So we'll clean this up in the parts washer, get rid of all the muck, and then put it in the sandblaster, give it a light sandblast, and a coat of paint. Same with the brake booster. I noticed that the pedal is a little bit stiff. You know, it should bounce back and forwards kind of easy. Now sometimes on clutches, somebody wrote to me in the comments, said it was squeaking really bad. Well, the only way you can get it is get some penetrating oil and squirt it up, because there's a bushing inside here. Well, this one, I think this one's got so much brake fluid, or you know, like clutch fluid on it, it's started to be stiff. So what I'm going to try and do is here, there's a pin that goes through, all the way through. I'm going to try and knock it out, or punch it out, or whatever. And let's have a look inside. I don't know if it's going to work. Ooh. Ooh, it's moving. Now, this proves a problem, because we need a very small punch, and I don't think I've got one. These these are a stupid set from Prince's Auto, and you can see what happens when you use them, that they actually bend. You know, they're all bent. Well, we'll persevere. We'll persevere. See, well, we want one a bit bigger than that. One that hasn't bent. What's that one like? Too big. One a bit smaller. Oh, next size down. Bent as a 9-bob bit look. We'll have to straighten that out. We'll straighten it out and see if we can get the pin. Well, the answer is almost. I ended up drilling through here, then with a die grinder. So I drilled this first bit out because I could get into that. Die grinder, and then I managed to tap the pin, and then it's got stuck. So I'm going to use a pair of side cutters and see if we can tweak that pin out. You know, moving. I really could do with a good set of pin punches. Ta-da! We got it out. Look, there you go. Now, so the next thing, we've got to punch that pin out. We can do it in the vise. There's a man-sized punch. Almost looks like it's the right size. Oh, it's got a burr on it. Just let me take this burr off. Now, see if we can punch it out. And the answer is no. Right, it's moving. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this over and put it on the hydraulic press and press it out. I think it'll work. Back in a bit. Right, here we go. Stand back. That was tight. It's just one good call after another. Look at the pin. Let's get back to the bench. Oh yes, it was a good call. There's the bushing with a very rusty pin. So I think we'll clean all this lot up, blast and clean it, and it'll be quite surprising. This, when it's done, this bit's okay. Yeah, that bit's alright. Let's get all this lot cleaned up and see what it goes back together like. What a difference! Amazing! Just put it through the blasting cabinet and took all the loose rust and paint off. This pedal was really bad. There's the pin, nice and clean. Look at that. That's how it should be. Now in the old days they used to put a grease nipple through there. Ooh, nipple. But this is now a solid tube. Could you put one in? Suppose so. But then again, now it's all free and we'll put some grease on, I think it'll be good. Now, you're going to say to me, aren't you? I know what you're going to say. Why didn't you have a shave this morning? But apart from that, how are you going to line up the hole back in here? Easy. Look, there's the pin with the hole in. Look at that. You remember we had to press it out? Easy. Let's get this washed off in the ultrasonic to get any remaining grease and dust off. Give them a paint, then we'll start on the brake tower. So you can see here I've cleaned up that panel, and it was just in time. I took off the surface rust. I used a die grinder with a wire brush that's supposed to be only for a drill. Always wear goggles because these little metal particles spin all over the place. But what I'm going to do now, I've sort of been putting together a video about using this stuff here. Wait a minute. Corroseal. And I'm going to paint some Corroseal on this rust here. I've already done it, like I say, on the chassis, and I'm sort of midway through doing that video. And then I'll put some rocker guard on it, or panel protector, and then we'll paint it white. That'll be easy, won't it? But this will kill the corrosion and make a film on the top, and it should turn it black. So I've degreased it. I'm going to brush some on. Well, this is what you get when you do things early in the morning. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. The actual Corroseal did turn black, but I thought I'd give it a coat of this gravel guard before I did anything else, because I wanted it to dry so I could paint it today, and I forgot to film it. Anyway, you can maybe see a little bit down at the bottom there, which I forgot to spray. It all turned black, it's primed. Now I'm going to put the gravel guard on, which is like a rocker, like a sill protector, because it'll make a barrier between the Corroseal, the metal and the paint. So if it does leak again, then it's another level of protection for your panels. It's not to cover anything up by any means, it's just all those layers of protection. So I'm going to spray that and then get some breakfast. Seeing as the bulkhead paint is taking a little bit of time to dry, well, I thought we'll jump back onto this tower for the clutch. And if you can remember, well, because this is the next day, I had to force the pin out because it was seized in. However, when you put it actually into the housing, it just drops in. So the little pin that goes through the side here is only to stop this rotating or falling out. Don't really do much, does it? And if we put it back onto the pedal, you see, this is all resistance, and resistance is futile, so I've been told. Right, so we're going to assemble it. Now, top bush. Are we going to put oil on it? No. We're going to use fluid film as a lubricant, because this will stick, if you see what I mean. And this is a bush. Like there's a bush inside a bush, if you see what I mean. It's in a little sleeve that's allowed to rotate just a little bit. And when I sandblasted it, I realised that there's some little crimps, so you can't actually take this out very easily. Besides that, there's no need because it still moves kind of nicely. So let's get some grease together. Now this is a split bush. If it was my design, I would have designed it with a little, like I say, an oil weight groove in it or something. I'm just going to use some regular grease. Ooh, best part of the job, perk of the job. And then I've got the rubber on. You always got to get your rubber on. And then we're going to fit this through here, making note which side the pinhole is, which is here. Try and line that up. There we go. Now I'm going to get this grease off my hands, and now we'll try and rotate that pin and put a roll pin through. This is a roll pin. It's a hardened piece of steel that's rolled, but it's just like a big spring. So what we're going to try and do is line up that hole and pop this through. If it doesn't work, I'll just put a split pin through, because I'm not sure of the sizes, if you see what I mean. it's going to be a bugger to get in. Where's a punch? Back in the... Oh, where's a minute? No, that's a centre punch. Back in a minute. So, let's see if we can push this through here. It wants turning a bit. Take it out again. Because I think this has been drilled in with the pin in place because it doesn't line up at the other side. Let me remove that again. Turned it 180 degrees and now the pin has located itself in the hole. A good idea when you're doing cars and stuff like this, grab, you know, you go to your auto parts shop or something like that and you can grab boxes like this. This is all assorted roll pins. You'll never use them, but the time you want to use it, like today, pays dividends. And I think they were only like $5 or $6, weren't expensive. And there we go. That's it, you see? Look at that, that's a beauty, isn't it? Now, notice I didn't adjust this screw and I didn't take it out. This is the stop, and this keeps the... because this... a minute. So this is on the car is like this, on the bulkhead, and that screw there determines the pedal height. Well, we're not going to change that, so we're not changing the pedal height, so that's a good thing. The next thing we're going to do is put a few things away, put the top back on the grease, and we're going to fit the cylinder. Where did I put it? Oh, it's here. I always use TRW cylinders now. I don't buy those Chinese ones, they're a complete waste of money. You know. Now, somebody said to me that they've changed the thread size on this from 5/16 UNF to metric. Well, let's find out. Hey, anyway, listen, look, I've just noticed something here. It's got sort of a half-arsed etched TRW on here. But notice the castings are exactly the same. See, it's got these little bosses on here, these little raised bits here. That's the same. I wonder if that was a TRW one. If it was rubbish. I'm going to check the threads out, and then we're going to take this apart and we're going to put some rubber grease inside just to protect it a bit. There you go, more lies. It is actually 5/16 UNF. You see the nuts fastened down, spinning down really nice. That was a disappointment. Well, I think it's... yeah, it's the same number, because you can see they say this is a G behind it, so it's a genuine part. I don't know where I got that information from. Obviously somebody was smoking drugs or something. Right, let's take the piston out. I bet you it's dry as a bone. Ooh, it's got some lubricant on it. Not a lot, but it's got a bit. So all is intact in that one. Maybe I should clean off the old one and use it as a comparison, because not many people get the opportunity to see that. What did I do it? Let me see if I can polish this one up a bit. I sort of half-assed cleaned this up, and actually the bore doesn't look bad at all. I might be tempted to clean all these up and take them down to JP, because I must have about 15 of them, and he's got a nice parallel honing machine, and re-hone these out and see if we can use them again instead of keep buying them all the time. This is the old piston. I had to have a quick look there, but it was leaking. But let's compare, just for a bit of fun, the diameter of the rubber. Now this is kind of tricky because obviously it's rubber. 20.29 millimeters. And this one here, 19.34. That doesn't make any sense. Oh, it should be 3/4 of an inch, shouldn't it? Just wait a minute, I'll do this again. Yeah, I forgot these were in inches. So the piston is 0.7435 and the seal is 0.7685 in a new one. .6785. So what's going wrong? Oh, wait a minute. 0.7645. So it is a little tiny bit lower. All I can suggest, it's just worn out over age. Now this is what I'm getting to with this project here, because I'm going to do an experiment on this. I'm not going to use brake fluid on this particular job. I'm going to use ATF, automatic transmission fluid. Oh Mike, that sounds stupid. What are you going to use that for? Because I think they only use brake fluid for convenience. When you think about it, it's a hydraulic system, but there's no heat involved. Like with brakes, there's heat involved near the calipers, and this can boil and boil water, and also brake fluid absorbs water, so it minimises the boiling. Whereas in here, well, it doesn't really matter all that much. And I had a chat with JP about it, and he says, "Yeah, why not? We put it in all our porta powers and hydraulic stuff. Instead of buying hydraulic oil, there's no need." Anyway, well, that's a bit of a sidetrack. I've put some of this Castrol red rubber grease. This is the proper stuff. Whether it's rubber or not, I do not know. And we're going to put it in. Now, one other thing I was going to mention whilst I was at it, because a lot of people ask me, the seal here fails and leaks out through the piston and into your car. You can't go anywhere else. But sometimes you get problems where the seal here fails, and this seal here shuts off fluid going back up into the reservoir. So when you push your piston down, you push your clutch down, this seal comes into play and it forces back a little bit onto a stop, like a machine face at the end of the cylinder here, and stops the fluid from going back up into the cylinder. But if you can look very carefully, you can see it's just slightly undercut. This plastic is slightly taller, so the seal's down a little bit, and this is to allow fluid to come down from the cylinder round the sides of here into your cylinder. So when you push this, it shuts that valve off and allows then fluid to come up this hole here and have a very happy clutch. So this here. So some red rubber grease on there. Did I put that back? Put the old one back in. That's me talking to you. It's your fault. And you can feel there's a bit of resistance there already. I'm going to put the circlip in, put some more red rubber grease on, then we'll be ready to put this back together. I'm going to put new nuts and bolts in this. Nuts, bolts and washers. And I'm going to put some thread guard on them as well. Yeah, because like I said, the last thing you want is having a job to try and get it out again, because you know there will be a next time, don't you? So you're going to start off by putting a nut on. Might take a little while. Wind it right the way down to the end. Well, not suppose right the way down to the end, but sort of where it's going to be functional. They've used these cylinders in hundreds and thousands of different types of cars. It worked, but obviously they do a lot of work, you know what I mean? We'll put a washer on, get the cylinder the right way up, then try and guide it, not like that. Try and guide it through the hole. Now everything's all nice and free and moving, it's kind of tricky. There we go. Like that. Don't worry about... oh shit, I forgot to put the gasket thing on. Let's take this out again, and for what it's worth. Oh, there goes my washer. A lot of people miss that piece off. I have done in the past when I haven't found them. Put the bolt through. Washer, nylock. We'll do that and we'll fasten them up. Right, now we're going to get to the tricky point which screws everybody up. We've done this before, we've done it 3 or 4 times now, and I think we'll put an end to it now by doing these. Is how do you set these up? You know, where do you put the push rod? Because many people cock up the clutches by putting the nuts here in the wrong place. Well, we've done it before. We've cleaned off here with a bit of paper towel. We're going to blow down it and listen. Alright? Well, see if I can do it without making a fool of myself. So the pedal is now in its upright position. Thus. Listen. Alright, so you can blow through it. That's good. That means fluid can get back into the reservoir. I'm going to stand back a bit and I hope you can hear what's going on. Right? So, and watch the pedal. Now you see where it's shut off? That's too low. Alright? You see the position? This wants to be here. You see where when I put the pedal back? So what we're going to do is wind that nut down. Like that. And we don't want any pressure on this rod. But we want it at its best length so we get a good stroke. We like a good stroke on our rods. So let's blow through this again and let's see the difference. Perfect. See that? Hardly any movement at all. Perfect. It's simple as that. Good, eh? So now we tighten up. Now we tighten up this lock nut here. You see I put a couple of washers there just because I could. But it doesn't need nylocks or anything like this because this nut will lock this one together, even though it's at a distance. So let me lock that up. Then we'll come to the next bit. What a lovely job, isn't it? I bet the guy in the factory doing these could actually play a tune on different setups. You never know. Right, next thing. Spray inside with a bit of fluid film. Keep all that rusty nasty out. Now we're going to put the gasket and the cover on. Now when I took the original cover off, it had the gasket, but one of the bolts was missing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reuse the gasket because I haven't got any. Put the cover on. So instead of using that, I'm going to use some self-tapping screws because it's only sheet metal. Where's the hole there? It's kind of tricky because the gasket keeps moving. Yeah, there's one. And again, don't tighten them down until you've got all your screws in. I'll screw this in. Right, all that remains to do now is put those little plastic bushes back in. Bush. And put the spring on. I cleaned up the spring so it looked all nice and tarty. I've forgotten how to put these back on again. There is a technique, isn't there? Coils go to the front. Yeah, like that, isn't it? Or is it like that? Yeah, coils go to the front. And then there, go into there. It's only silver paint. Snout flash it just so it looks like I've done the job. There you go. Ha! Ha ha! That was easy, wasn't it? Like I say, this is an assist spring, so that when it goes over centre, it can hold the clutch down. It doesn't give you lighter pressure, it just holds it down, if you see what I mean. Ah, bloody wimps. Now, one thing I noticed when I took this adapter off, there was no copper washer in it. So we'll just go and find a copper washer and we'll tighten this down. Right, new copper washer. The reason why they do these adapters, in the very early days, this is just a 7/16 pipe thread, you know, like a brake pipe thread, because the original clutch hoses used to be 3/16 diameter. But the problem with that was, you could press your clutch down, and if you press it quite rapidly, the fluid would come out of here, but was slow to return through the pipe because it was restricted. That meant if you pumped your clutch too much, like it was running out of fluid, you could actually push the master cylinder, the slave cylinder rod, through the casing of the gearbox, which was no good. So I got a fly in my mouth. So they upped the size of the pipe to 1/4 inch, and that solved the problem. So this is a 7/16 to, what's that there? I don't know, 1/2 inch. No, it isn't. Somebody will tell me, I can't remember off the top of my head. But the pipe's 1/4. Oh, it's 7/16, that's right. There we go. And it's a 5/8 AF spanner. And just give it a little nip down. And that is a clutch master cylinder done. Ready to be bolted on. Should I have put a grease nipple in it? No. Why? Because you can't get into it. You can on a right hand drive, but not on a left hand drive. You know, you'd have to sort of take the wing off or drill a hole through the wing to get the grease gun in. I think it's going to be fine. And it's going to be a lot softer to press that pedal now. See? Just snaps down. It's lovely. That's how they should be. I've got the master cylinder already done, and that's good to go. So we just got to put some paint till we get the wet for the paint to dry, and then we can assemble this. Another what a hot week it's been. It's my little, I'll just tell you a little thing. My garage, if I open both doors, I usually get a nice cool breeze coming through here. It's all, everybody around here says it's the coolest place to work, apart from me being here. But we've got a natural draft going through the building. Not for the last 2 weeks. It's been an absolute bugger. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. I know you're going to make your Land Rover better by doing that. Stick around, more to come. See you later.